Are you the kind of person who likes to have a plan for everything? Whatever you do, you want to know the whole game plan ahead of time before you even get started. Well, I'm like that. I've always been like that. But there are too many times in my life, I think, that there was no plan, or there was a plan, but I couldn't figure it out. I don't like that. It can be scary, it can be frustrating, and it can leave you feeling like God has left you in the dark. Well, let's look at that feeling of being in the dark, because that's a really important place to be. As much as those of us who love to have things all planned out ahead of time, yeah, as much as we hate it, that's a really important time. Now, I'm not talking about a game plan for something small, like how you're going to paint the woodwork or something like that. Okay. I'm talking about life events. I'm talking about even the course of a day. I like to have my day planned out. I like to know what I'm doing, when, and for how long, whenever possible. And as you probably know yourself, the best of plans can get waylaid by the smallest little happening. So, maybe there's an emergency in your day with one of the kids, with your dog or cat or whatever, there's so many interruptions. Or somebody really, really needs your help with something, so you've got to put your plans aside and so that you can help that person. And that's a good thing. But it can really rattle those of us who like to be organized. That feeling of being disorganized can make us feel out of control. And that's the key. That's the key. When we're in that, when God is, figuratively speaking, left us in the dark, that sense of being out of control is scary, but it's also a false feeling. What we're really looking at, what we're really feeling is that, well, we're not in control of the situation, but someone very important, very powerful, and all knowing is in control. So, those times when you feel like you're in the dark, when it feels like everything's going wrong, nothing's going according to plan, or you don't even, what plan? When you don't even have a plan at all. Things just seem completely chaotic, and you're not understanding what's going on or how you're going to get from A to B. That's an important and grace-filled time because God is in control. God is let me give you an example from my own life. So, three of our four children were born prematurely and ended up in the neonatal intensive care unit. Couple of times we nearly lost our child. Two different kids, two different occasions, nearly lost our child. All three of them were in the NICU, we used to call it, for weeks, months. That was a long time of uncertainty. That's my point. Because if you've ever had a premature infant, if you've ever had a very sick infant who's been in the neonatal intensive care unit, or maybe even the pediatric intensive care unit, you know that it is literally a minute by minute thing, because infants don't respond to sickness, debilitating conditions, to medications and treatments. They don't respond the same as adults. And it's rarely predictable in any possible way. It's not predictable at all. You could visit your sick child at 9 a.m. and be feeling pretty good about how things are going. And this happened to me many, many times. Spend an hour, maybe 2 hours with the child, maybe 3 hours with the child, When I had other people to watch my other children, it was easy to do that. With the firstborn, of course, it was easy because there weren't any kids at home. I'd sit with the child, everything was going well. All of the stats were great. The monitors were doing, no alarms whatsoever. And then I would go home. I'd leave at noon to go home and get a little lunch and maybe rest my body just a little bit because it's stressful. And by 12:30, there's a phone call. There's been an emergency. So and so, your child's heart has stopped. We had to resuscitate. The bilirubin count is up. There's so many things. It's such a delicate balance. So many things, and suddenly the whole world, it's out of control. This isn't according to my plan. My plan was that this child would continue to do better and better throughout the day, better and better each and every day, so that my child could come home sooner. No, that was not in God's plan. Even though that seems like an awful plan, maybe it maybe it even feels cruel to you at times. Maybe God's plan feels like he's trying to be mean to you. But when I look back on those times when the kids were in the neonatal intensive care unit, I can tell you that they were some of the most spiritually fruitful times in my life. In fact, every time I've had to weather uncertainty, when I stop grumbling about it, when I stop fighting it, I realize that it's one of the most spiritually fruitful times in my life. Here's what I realized. I realized that the situation at the time, of course, it was the health of my child, was completely out of my control. I had nothing. There's nothing I could do. Doctors and nurses, they were all doing everything they could. It was up to God. It was up to God to do what he felt was most important, both for me, my husband, and for that child, believe it or not. He was doing what was best, and he was in control. So I had to realize there was nothing I could do to control the situation. So I guess you'd call it surrender. Surrender the situation to God and to his control. Let go of the control. Stop, stop, what do I want to say? Obsessing, I think that's a good word, obsessing about the need to control the situation. You can't. You can't. God's in control. And the other thing, and I think this is probably one of the most important things I learned during that time, and this is a principle that I apply to myself in every uncertain situation, have ever since the kids were in the NICU, ever since I've been a young mom, all the way through, every time I face uncertainty, it's this: take it a day at a time. This is what I know for today. This is how things are rolling out for today. Tomorrow may be completely different. This is what I know, and I'm going to go with what I know. And I'm going to act on it unless God shows me otherwise. Sometimes the situation is so awful, so difficult, so scary that you have to break it down to an hour. I had many days like that with our kids in the NICU, hour by hour. This is what I know for this hour. For this hour, that child's heart is still beating, lungs are doing well, oxygen stats were great. 1 hour at a time. Then I'll deal with whatever comes in the next hour. And when it gets really bad, my friend, when it's so awful that you just feel like you can't go on, take it minute by minute. Break it down to the smallest unit you possibly need to continue on. But remember this: that day belongs to God. It's in his hands. So is the next day. It's in his hands, and he's not going to let go of you. You're not truly in the dark. You just can't see the light that God's providing for you in that situation. That hour, surrender it to God. Let yourself be out of control because God's in control. He's got it. Acknowledge you're in the dark because you can't see what God is doing with that hour. And give the next hour to God because He'll be in control of that one too. And the minute. I surrender this minute to God. He's in control of this minute. He's also in control of the next minute. That's how you do it. That's how you survive and thrive in times of uncertainty. Let God be in control. It's okay not to have a plan. It's okay not to know everything because God knows everything. And He'll tell you what you need to know when you need to know it. Do me a favor, please subscribe to my channel so that others can benefit from my videos as well. Share my videos, please, and check out my website, margefenelon.com. Sign up for 40 days, 40 verses. My daily Lenten reflections throughout Lent. You're going to love it. It's about 2 to 3 minutes a day, and it's going to give you something really profound to think about and to work on for that day of Lent. margefenelon.com. God bless you, my friend, and let God be in control. Don't worry about it.